welcome back. Let's get started with the big story, our very first big story in the hour, and this time it's on politics. We journey to the political heartbeat of northern Nigeria, where the ruling All Progressives Congress in Kano State has thrown its weight behind President Bola Tinubu for a second term in 2027. The endorsement announced that the residency of former APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje comes with glowing praise for the residents' visible developmental projects in the north, that is, particularly in Kano State. The party also reaffirmed Ganduje's status as the undisputed leader of the APC in the state. But not everyone is applauding this early show of support. Opposition parties, including the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and the African Democratic Congress, ADC, are questioning the timing, calling it a distraction from pressing national challenges. The Independent National Electoral Commission has also reminded political actors that premature campaigning is prohibited under the Electoral Act.
This morning, we unpack what this means for Kano's political landscape, the ruling party's national strategy, and whether early endorsements strengthen or weaken governance. Joining us, Mr. Olalekan Ige, political analyst, is going to be breaking down the political implications here with us. Mr. Ige, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. And we would like to know what your assessment of this early endorsement for President Tinubu by the North is. Your take, sir. Welcome.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
I'm sure you know it's not happening for the first time in Nigeria's recent political history, where you have political parties coming out to endorse probably the president or the governor or certain individuals within the party. I've heard the, should I say, the reservation from the PDP and from the ADC. Should I say, fortunately or unfortunately, it is the same politicians that are in these political parties. And if they were in the position of the president, I'm sure their parties will be endorsing them by now. So it's nothing new, particularly for party politics in Nigeria. However, INEC has come out to say, look, we still have a long time to go. Usually, INEC announces the next elections 1 year in advance. And I'm sure it's by next year that INEC will have to roll out a timetable for 2027 general elections. But for now, I will agree with INEC that it's too early for parties to begin campaigning for, one candidate or the other. But for me, it's normal party politics, and it's not the first time we're having it in Nigeria's history.
Normal party politics is not the first time we're having it in Nigeria. But let's bring the North into this and the projects that they have claimed that, especially the stalwarts in the APC in Kano, that have said that the president has done that, the projects that they have done and is done so well in the North. When are we ever going to remove this sharing of developments and who should get more development in our governance and our politics?
But it's normal. It's not peculiar to Nigeria. It's all over the world. Naturally, you expect that somebody elected on the platform of a party that becomes the president of Nigeria, in this case, would naturally want to spread the project around Nigeria. And we have a peculiar kind of politics here where we have a north-south dichotomy in Nigeria's politics. So wherever you are, you want to attract as much project as you can, to your region. And particularly, in this case, Kano is in the northwestern part of Nigeria, and that is the region that has the highest number of registered voters in Nigeria, followed by the southwest. So you understand why the politics that is being played, and particularly for Kano, where the candidate of the NNP did better than APC in the last general election. So you understand why all of this is coming up and why they think that the president should get a larger chunk of the vote from Kano this time around. So you expect that the APC in Kano want to tell Kano people what they've been able to attract in terms of federal projects to their zone. So this is normal politics when you begin to bargain, for what you can get. And one of the best ways to bargain for what you can get is to bring the number of people who can vote in your state, especially in Kano. And that's why you are saying that Kano is saying, look, we've been able to attract many projects to Kano, and this is why Kano people should support Tinubu during the next general elections.
Mr. Ige, so we get that, but let's bring in responsibility here for INEC. INEC has won that early campaign is wrong, but we want to know how much of an infringement this is on the laws or the regulation that INEC has put on ground for elections. How much of an infringement is it?
Well, I think INEC is the statutory body recognized to control anything about elections in Nigeria. INEC will have to come up if we've had any infractions or whatsoever. And that's why we've always argued that INEC needs to be strengthened. You need to find the political party. You need to place a fine on that particular individual. These are all of issues, that have gone on for a long time. At what point can INEC say, no, you cannot begin to campaign, or we think that you've started campaigning, this is the amount of fine you are meant to pay, or this is the kind of sanction, you are meant to face. Only INEC can, at this point, come out if infractions, have been committed, and if there are appropriate fines or sanctions to be meted out to such political party.
So, Mr. Ige, can we now define what campaigning actually is? Is it until we find posters all over the place in radio ads or television ads and jingles? Is that what INEC is absolutely regarding as campaigning? Or are these rounds that we see in the north especially, are they campaigning? So if you can help us define what campaigning means, maybe in the eye of INEC, that would help us, zero in on what they might be thinking.
I think the fact that you already have political parties endorsing candidates, across the length and breadth of Nigeria, that's already a subtle campaign. You're already stating that, look, we want you, that's the electorate, to vote for this particular candidate. That's already a subtle campaign. But then it's INEC that is, saddled with that responsibility to find out whether infractions have been committed already, whether political parties are already campaigning. INEC needs to be able to come up with a statutory position. INEC needs to issue a statement. INEC needs to say, look, okay, we've been able to sanction a certain political party or certain political parties. We've been able to find, certain people who have started campaigning for some candidates ahead of 2027, general election. There has to be a roadmap. There has to be a parameter. There has to be a kind of foundation upon which INEC cannot begin to sanction politicians and political parties. And until INEC is able to clearly, define that, it becomes difficult to know whether infractions have been committed or not.
You said that INEC needs to be strengthened, right, earlier on when you were talking about the sanctions. But when we look at the Electoral Act of 2022, just before the 2023 elections, there was a lot of, regulations and, rejigging of the act and what the electoral umpire can and cannot do. And so should we say that they are also lazy as well? When we look at the mass defections that have happened, the open endorsements we've seen on inside the green and the red chamber as well, and just the mass decamping. Should we go back to the Electoral Act? Is that to tweak more things? Does INEC not have power already?
It doesn't have any power whatsoever over the defection of any elected member, either of the state assembly, national assembly, or even those who are in executive positions. INEC does not have any power over that. It is only the political party on whose platform a candidate won the election and that candidate now defects to another party. It is the responsibility of that political party on constituent members of that elected official to go to court and say, look, we voted for this man on this platform and he has decided to abandon us and go to another political party. That is clearly the function of the political party. INEC has absolutely no correlation here. INEC only waits for what the court has stated and INEC would act. As regards campaigns, yes, I did say earlier that, look, INEC needs to be strengthened. Maybe we need to amend some parts of the Electoral Act to ensure that, look, INEC is able to keep its lead on those who start early campaigns by endorsements and all of that. But those are normal party politics. If we strengthen INEC, can they be able to put a lead on this so that those who are elected can focus on governance and can only start campaign probably when INEC unfolds the calendar for an election, to take place. But as far as defections are concerned, it has nothing to do with INEC.
So, sorry, Judy, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
May I? Thank you very much. So, Mr. Ige, it's very interesting, the situation that the presidency finds itself. Currently, it seems that the presidency has its finger on the pulse of everything that's happening throughout the entire sectors, whether it's agriculture, education, infrastructure. There's so much going on when it comes to development. There's also healing of the economy. The inflation rate is kind of like reducing. So one has to wonder whether this claim of electioneering is actually valid. How much of a shift from governance has the presidency gone?
I think, like I said earlier, we have a special kind of politics in Nigeria where once politicians are elected, immediately they start thinking of the next election. It's something that's been with us, for a long time. It's not the first time. And we'll probably have to be able to find a way to ensure that people don't start campaigning for the next election on the very first day they are elected. But the truth of the matter is, for every action taken by those in executive or in a legislative position, every action taken by them is a political capital. It's meant to achieve a gain. It's meant to achieve an end. It's a means to an end, so to say, because it's on those premises, on those predicates, they can campaign for the next election. But how do we ensure that elected officials stay focused on their responsibilities and ensure that they can only campaign when the time is right? I do not know what kind of mechanism that we can put in place to ensure that, look, people don't begin to talk. But then some too will also argue that, look, we have our guaranteed rights, to endorse anybody who wants, our guaranteed rights, to speak politically on any issue we want, or to support any candidate we want. There have to be bounds upon which these things can happen. Is there a way we can ensure that we put all of this within bounds so that politicians don't go overboard? But it's the way and manner we've played politics since 1999, since the return of this democracy. It's the way we have played the politics, and it's difficult, to control at this point in time. But can we find certain bounds upon which we can guide people and ensure they stay within the framework of what they are meant to do?
You keep saying that it's our politics, it has been since 1999. But maybe jog my memory, maybe I'm just too young. What administration or whose administration have we ever seen this type of campaigning or early campaigning or endorsements just barely 2 years into their administration? Who have we seen? Who has ever done this? Just to jog my memory, because I don't know. And it just giving what we have, even though the inflation and the inflation numbers and what the government is saying regarding the renewed hope agenda and what they're trying to do with the economy, it's black and white compared to what Nigerians are facing on the streets and what we pay when we go into the stores, right? And so when the opposition is calling for more focus on governance as opposed to politics, are their cause displaced? Are Nigerians' cause displaced? Is this not a distraction from what should be at the core of this administration?
There are those that are in opposition today were members of major political parties some 20 years ago or since 1999. It's the same thing. It's the same set of politicians. Those who are in opposition today, who are talking about early campaigns for elected office holders, were in the same positions. Some of them were former governors, former senators, former vice president. They were in this same position. And check, from 1999, the moment we started democracy in 1999, return of democracy in 1999, barely 2 years into that administration, I'm talking of the administration of President Olalekan Ige, we started the idea of a second-term campaign. Remember, too, during the second-term campaign of second tenure of President Obasanjo, we started nursing the idea of amending the constitution to allow the president to run for a top 10. It's not the first time. In 2007, when we had another set of elected officials, it was the same thing. It's been part of Nigeria's politics since 1999. This is nothing new. I'm sure Nigerians know this is nothing new from those politicians or those who are in opposition. They were in this same position so many years ago, some years ago, and they were part of this agenda to begin to campaign for a second tenure while still in office.
So, as we're saying that they're all part of this agenda for this politics, and this is just politicking as every day, as time immemorial, then what's the way forward in terms of the opposition? If that means that an incumbent cannot be taken over, do you think that ADC, PDP or the ACC or AAC or SDP, any of these parties have a chance?
It's left for Nigerians. It's not about political parties. It's about the electorate. It's left for Nigerians to be able to decide and say, look, we sent you to do something and you didn't do it well. And rather than do already campaigning, for a second term in office, the power lies with the electorate. We need free, fair, and credible elections. If we have free, fair, and credible elections, I'm sure politicians will know that they can be sacked at any point in time. And that's what we need. If we can just achieve free, fair, and credible elections where our votes count, politicians will sit up because they know that the electorate can sack them at any point in time. That's what democracy is all about. The ability to change your elected official when you think the person has not performed. And the moment we're able to achieve, politicians will sit up.
Mr. Ige, the term free fair elections, it has now been overflogged to this point that I do not know what it means anymore, given what has happened with our elections in the past and what happened during the elections in 2023. But most importantly, the translation of the 27 states and the FCT, or plus the FCT, or including the FCT, it has been left to translation at this point. And so, as we're calling for free and fair elections, whose job is it to ensure that there's going to be free and fair elections? Is it on the incumbent that is already campaigning 2 years into the administration? Is it on the opposition parties who are doing their best to be a bold voice of opposition and dissent for Nigeria? Or is it the INEC who is just 2 years in, already too late at this point, is now saying that every party is early campaigning? Whose job is it?
Personally, it is the responsibility of INEC and we, the electorate. It's not the responsibility of those that have been elected. No. It's the responsibility of INEC and we, the electorate. INEC needs to get it right in terms of how votes are counted, in terms of how votes are transmitted, to their recognized security zone where elections can be announced. It's also the responsibility of us as electorate to come out on election days. I'm sure a lot of people want to make reference to 2023, that look, we all came out and were disappointed with the way and manner INEC handled the issue of IREF. This is the best time for us to start demanding improvements from INEC. It's the responsibility of us as electorate. And INEC, despite the reservations of 2023 general election, is the first time in Nigeria's recent history that multiple political parties won election. There were a lot of people who won election on the first ballot in 2023 who never believed they could have won election in Nigeria. It meant that at least we have shifted from one position. We are taking a step forward. Can we now take further steps forward in 2027 by ensuring that INEC gets it right in terms of transmission of election results? We need to be able to get it right. Once we get that right, once Nigerians who are also members of INEC resist the temptations on being influenced by those who give them money to change or to abandon their positions, then we can get it right. INEC won't operate in isolation. INEC works with Nigerians. What is the credibility of those Nigerians? How do we ensure that, look, these are people that you cannot easily influence? Look at the case of what happened in Abia. Let's take Abia State as an example. Remember the pressure that was on the returning officer in Abia State. The woman stood her ground. That's the proud Nigerian. She stood her ground and said, look, I will announce the original election result. And see what we have in Abia today. See the turnaround of what the governor is trying to do. That's what I'm saying. INEC will need to shoulder a lot more responsibilities. Nigerians who work with INEC or who are contracted by INEC, especially returning officers for elections, what is the credibility, of these people? Only then can we get it right.
Well, Mr. Olalekan Ige,
right.
Okay. Mr. Olalekan Ige, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Very interesting take you had there on the variety of winners from the past 2023 elections. Never saw it that way. Well, let's hope that we can make good on that one for the next elections. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. And of course, hey, we enjoyed that conversation.